Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us on this special webinar edition of the Yang Gang Report Live. I'm happy to have our guests today. We have great Yang Gangers here who are going to be explaining some really important things that we feel it's good for you guys to know going into the last 30 days before voting gets started. So I don't want to take up too much time, but the way that we're going to do this today is that each presenter is going to speak for about 10 minutes, and they're going to go over their presentation. We're going to save any kind of questions about what they're talking about for the end. So we'll go a little bit of time to ask and clarify and to try to get a better understanding of something that was gone over at the end. Okay. So thank you for joining us. Feel free to comment though and ask what you need to so that we can get back around to that. But I'm going to introduce our first guest. Today we have Dr. Quintus Jett. Quintus, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Because I don't do an adequate job when I try to give you a rundown. I'd rather you tell
Oh,
everybody what you have done.
I think the short of it is I've been part of Yang Gang since March. I have a background with organizations and in particular presidential campaigns and grassroots.
So you know what is up as far as how this process works and some of the things that may be getting missed for some of our newcomers to the political process.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one thing that struck me, like when I first came involved, is that a lot of us in Yang Gang, I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm, but a lot of people don't really. I mean, some people haven't had experience voting, but even then, like, what's about to happen in terms of this presidential primary, which is a very complex thing to execute these primaries, and so I guess the short of it, the one actually, I'm going to maybe add maybe two basic points I want to get across in the next 8 minutes. The first thing is we may call a presidential primary like a race, but really it's like a puzzle. And what I mean by that is there's a series of states and a particular dates, and each state has its own composition of its own population. Every state has its own little particular rules about how one can participate in the primary, and whoever candidate figures that out and gets the most votes and then delegates across each of these states, that's who the nominee is.
Awesome. So, would you like me to go ahead and get the screen share started and let you
Yeah,
get
sure.
started on your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let me go ahead and do this for everybody. And I'm going to mute everyone else out.
Okay. Okay, so that's an overview of the United States. I think for sake of time, I'm just gonna like maybe cut this to the quick. That in 30 days, the primaries start in Iowa, and within the next 60 days is like it'll all be basically within this next 60 to 90 days. We're gonna have about 33 contests throughout the United States. So if you're watching this, chances are that your primary or caucus will have happened, by the end of March. Because I mean, these 33 contests include like the largest states with the most delegates: California, Texas, and Florida. There are a lot of other big states like North Carolina and Virginia and Minnesota, and a lot of the New England states are in there. American abroad is Democrats abroad are there, as well as America Samoa. So what's about to happen is something that's going to be almost like scattershot, like a puzzle throughout the United States. So so in other words, most of us are on deck very shortly, and we are so close to this starting that we're in what's called GOTV, get out the vote. So that's where our focus should be. Pretty much wherever you live, whatever state you live in, whatever county you're in, it's important. It doesn't matter whether your state is red, blue, or purple. It doesn't matter if your county is red, blue, or purple. We need your vote for Yang, and we need to be able to be competitive in every state and within every county, within every state. We want to do as well as we can to create votes. But then after that, though, but should we think about what goes on inside of in particular states? Through Abundance for America, I'm circulating what's being referred to as treasure maps, and treasure maps are a way of seeing the kinds of priorities that take place within a particular state. I'm not sure if we can do another screen share again, but because I actually have like North Dakota up. A lot of people may not think about North Dakota, but North Dakota is pretty important because it's a week after Super Tuesday. It's a caucus, and North Dakota may not be a state that people talk about, but again, it's significant, and there are a lot of counties in North Dakota. If we were able to zoom in, you would actually see that there are some counties. You'll see that there's like 4 different kinds of counties, really. A Y, an A, an N, or a G. I'll just as a shorthand, I think I'll just say that any county that's a Y county or an A county tend to be like highly populated centers with lots of diversity, because when it comes to the math of a Democratic primary, almost half of the Democratic primary voters are going to be of color, like not like sort of non-white. So any place where there are like non-white populations is something we want to focus on for the sake of winning the primary. G counties and N counties tend to be more rural. Again, we want to compete in as many states, many counties as possible. So it's very important that we don't leave out the rural counties. And the way to find the rural counties on a treasure map is looking at the G's and the N's. So I could do is like I'll put into the live comments like the like where to get them, and we're actually looking at ways to circulate these maps for everyone else, like for even more people. A few hundred people have them already, but it's a way of being able to see what kind of strategy to work off in your county or in an adjacent county. And so maybe the final point I want to make is that is how some of you may have to or should be paying attention to what's going on in a neighboring state. For example, I was talking with a Yang Gang member in Atlanta, and they were asking me about like where to outreach, and I was saying, well, if I were you, I would definitely consider Alabama, because Georgia's a little bit later. I think it's like late March. So basically, I said like Alabama, and he asked me, well, why Alabama? Because apparently a lot of Yang Gang in Atlanta are focused on South Carolina because it's early. Well, the reason why you should care is Alabama is a Super Tuesday state, and it is like literally 3 days after South Carolina is Alabama. 3 days after South Carolina is Alabama. It's that close. And Atlanta is actually a lot closer to Alabama is a lot closer to Atlanta than South Carolina is. So I think the final point is that be prepared to look at your neighboring state. So if you're in St. Louis, you are right on the border of Southern Illinois. And if you're in Vermont, you're right next to New Hampshire. And you're at Super Tuesday, which is like maybe 2-3 weeks after New Hampshire goes. And so those are the key points, that it's a puzzle, that this look at this as a puzzle, not a race in different states. You want to pay attention to what's going on within your county and neighboring counties, but then you also want to make sure you're paying attention to the elections happening in adjoining states. So that's it.
Well, that is awesome and fascinating. I don't know a lot about this stuff, so I feel like we should have kind of like classes like this way more often. I mean, I didn't learn any of this stuff when I was in school.
Yeah,
I don't remember one day. Yes, they absolutely should, because I'm 50 years old.
Thanks,
And I don't know this stuff.
Thanks for showing those maps.
And maybe the close what I'm going to do is like, I'm willing to do like a stream like this dedicated to a particular state. So like, in other words, if you're like from, let's say, Arizona, and if you want to like me to do a live stream for a state, I'll do it. Just do a dedicated
everybody
one.
Who wants to access Abundance for America
Thanks. AbundanceForAmerica.com, and there's a tab that says Yang Maps.
Very nice.
I'm taking this with me, Quintus.
Right on.
Well, JB.
Okay. Out. Yes, JB is out, which means that I am hosting. So let's have Faye tell us what she's here to tell us about. Oh wait, you have to. We need to unmute. We need to unmute Faye. Here comes JB.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was having a little bit of trouble there. I want to thank Quintus for coming on and showing the maps. If everybody wants to go and go to AbundanceForAmerica.com, and you can request them for your state there.
And
it'll be exam what it's like to I'd like to get the floor, but before we go on, Quintus, do you have something to say?
We're not hearing you too well, JB. Maybe while we figure this out,
Okay,
maybe can we go to Faye somehow?
I'm gonna send him a private chat.
Can we go what? I didn't hear that. Oh. Yeah, I think Faye muted herself. Faye, are you muted? Do I have to unmute you?
At the bottom.
Yes, please. There you go. Perfect. All right. So
I'm muting.
I'm here to talk about today the stay-at-home moms and how we can mobilize them. First of all, I think that we need to demonstrate that we understand what the unique challenges and why people choose to stay at home and so forth. So we've got stay-at-home moms that are. Can we put up that first link if you're able to do that? People often ask, why do people? If you ask anybody about stay-at-home moms, usually they'll get a lot of different answers. People will say they're either lazy, they don't want to work, they don't want to go out to work, or they're making the best decision of their lives. Some people say they're not contributing to society, but some people say they're making a great sacrifice at home so that they can nurture their kids day in and day out. And there's just, everybody's got an opinion about it, but what does the research really say about people? And it's saying that about 71% of moms do work outside of the home, but 29% are staying home. And that number is going up right now. It has gone up 6% from 1999, according to this, the research that's been brought together on this. Okay. And not only that, if you go on to the next slide, the stay-at-home research from the Pew, this research is saying that at the bottom of this page, it shows that 60% of Americans really believe that children are better off when a parent stays home to focus on the family, compared with 35% of people who say that children are just as well off if you have working parents. So we still believe in the value of parents, but there's a strong push in our society to get everybody out, out to work. especially if you're a single mother. And so anyway, but we know that there's more and more single mothers now too. As Andrew Yang says on his policy for single moms, he says that, you know, we have more and more people who are single mothers for whatever reason. So we need to support them better. So now we're looking at the next slide. It says 9 reasons why someone had regretted being a stay-at-home mom after her retirement. Okay, and these are just make me so sad. You know, it says things like, I let down those who went before me. They feel that they have you know, let down a generation of women who have fought for our right to go out to work and to be able to do everything that there is to do under the sun. Number 2 said, I used my driver's license far more than my degrees. Number 3 says, my kids think I did nothing. And number 4, my world narrowed. And number 5, it says, I got sucked into a mountain of volunteer work. And number 6, I worried more. Number 7, with my husband, I slipped into a more traditional marriage. And number 8, I became outdated. Number 9, I lowered my sights and lost confidence. And these are things that are very challenging for anybody who's staying home. It doesn't have to be a mother. It could be somebody who's taking care of someone who is disabled, maybe a brother or sister that you need to have you know, more time for because they can't take care of themselves, or an aging parent. A lot of people have chosen to stay home with their parents, not to lose that, you know, last few years you might have with somebody. And so it's really something that people don't understand. You know, it's a sacrifice that you're making that in order to support other people. And the problem is right now, as Andrew often says, we have mistaken human value for economic value, and we are confused because economics say that if you stay home to take care of your family, you will not receive any compensation for that, right? So I'm looking at the Yang 2020 site under increased assistance for single parents, for example. He says 40% of the children now born in the United States are born to unmarried mothers. And so all of these mothers now, they have to make a choice. Are we going to go out and take, you know, we have to get that money, you know, we've got to be able to support our children financially, or do we get to have, you know, enough time to spend with our children? And so I feel like the freedom dividend is a huge benefit for anybody who decides that they're going to stay home with their children, because that is the only policy out there right now that recognizes any type of value for human beings. And the fact that you're just human, you know, you don't have to be anything other than human to be to have value. And not only that, one of the things that people get confused about is they think that a stay-at-home mom actually stays at home, right? So now we're talking about you know, people who are invisible. They just stay at home. They don't do anything else but stuff at home. But that's not true. Actually, stay-at-home parents do a lot of volunteer work. They do a lot of, exactly as you get sucked into all the different volunteer positions because supposedly you have more time, right? You also have people attending church and temple and all of the different religious groups that also are looking for volunteers all the time. You go to school, you're constantly at school, something volunteering there. Okay, you have to do all of the shopping. So at every single mall, every single grocery where you got the parents, you've got the parents going out to all the daycare centers, picking up, dropping off. You've got parents going out to parks. And so everywhere you have a chance to be social. You could just be at the park and there's other parents there with their children. This is your chance to strike up a conversation. You know, you're meeting a lot more people than some working people. Okay, if you're staying at home, you have a chance every time you go out anywhere. You can talk to the person that you're buying something from, the merchant. You can speak to your pastor. You can do anybody that you feel would give you, 5 minutes to give a chance to talk about something you believe in. So stay-at-home parents have a chance to bring together their community in a way that many people who are working cannot, because when you're at work, it might not be kosher to talk about, a personal belief or about your politics. But when you are in these leisure situations, when you're in a social group where you're just there to socialize, basically, that's your chance to do the best work. and represent these policies, the most important ones. Andrew Yang has numerous policies that would be beneficial for parents of all types and all women of all stripes. I mean, the freedom dividend has to be the most important one that gives everybody the chance to opt out of any situation that is bad for them. It gives you a chance to say, you know, if I need to leave this abusive relationship, I have a chance to do that. You know, when you're thinking about women's issues, I think one of the things that people avoid talking about is abortion, you know, because it's just such feelings come up for that. But actually, I think that this could be a very uniting situation because, you know, the people who choose abortion, there's a lot more women who choose it than you might. It says here, I'm going to put up this thing in the conversation. It says that about one out of every 4 women in the United States at some point in their lives may choose to have an abortion or be forced to have one. And so in this situation, when you've got so many people that it's impacting, the best thing that we can do right now is take a look at the reasons, right? And the first reason is that people are not ready for another child, or the timing is somehow wrong. But the second most common reason cited is that they can't afford a baby now, right? So if you can't afford a baby now, that extra $1,000 a month is going to help you. Okay, it might push you to think a different way. So I think that it's just one of the best things that can happen for women. Here's another one. I would like to put up this America's Dad. Do you have the link for that? Okay, great. That one is up, and this is probably the most feminist article that I've seen. Okay, and I can see that my time is up for this, but I'd like everybody to get a chance. If you can look up this article, America's Dad Has a Problem. It does actually talk about how the Andrew's policies are going to help people who are staying home right now, not regret their decision once they get to retirement age. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yay. Thank you, Faye. And so hopefully that gave everybody some ideas. If you're stay-at-home parents, you have a little more time, you have a little more access, but also there are things working against you. So utilize these tools and get out there. We're down to the last 30 days. So we appreciate you, Faye. Thank you. Next, we have Boyce Littlefield. You guys all know Boyce from Mindful Skeptics. And Boyce has been a very proactive YouTuber, as well as a very active activist in the Yang Gang. I asked him to come on here to talk a little bit about interweaving his online YouTuber content creation with activism. So I want to give Boyce the floor.
Hey, how you guys doing, man? I appreciate you having me on, man. Honestly, last night I had a great discussion with Chris Jackson, Crystal Fleischman, and a couple other people came on my live stream last night. We had a really good discussion about how we're going to connect both of those worlds, URL and IRL. And so something I thought about was what I'm looking at doing for content creator wise for myself. And I hope I inspire others to try and do the same thing or something along these lines, is have a coordinated effort to, if I go to say Dubuque and Davenport to canvas this weekend. So I'm leaving, what is it now? 10:30 my time. I'm leaving in 6 hours. I'm getting on the road and heading to Iowa. I'm gonna get some sleep after getting done with this and just jump on the car. But I want to canvas in the area and talk to people and get their contact information and use the dang Yang bucks. So I've printed out a boatload of these bad boys. And on the back, I'm gonna write my personal cell phone number and my email address so they can contact me directly and get that URL IRL connection and say, okay, feel free to reach out to me, come on a live stream if you have questions, stuff like that. That's really helpful. But I want to come back during the caucus and actually go back to that same neighborhood and go to the caucus and see if anyone I talked to, if that helped them get there or if it inspired them. If they did, what did we do or say? What made them get out of their house that day to come caucus for Andrew Yang or not? Is it, I want to get more feedback like that to help us moving forward after Iowa, so we can apply the same techniques in New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, and so on. So that's what I'm trying to do, is gather some really good intel as far as on the ground in New Hampshire or Iowa and say, okay, you've been phone banked or I'm going to ask you, have you been contacted by the campaign for phone banking, text banking, and canvassing previous to this? And if not, then we're going to do our thing, you know, spit our stuff out there that we do, and get their contact information and trying to keep touch with them. So we want to keep that one-on-one. There's someone out there listening that wants to hear more from you, engagement. So I think that's a big thing for activism, including your own hometown, your county, your state. I live in Michigan. We got a lot of delegates here. This is a swing state. So I'm going to try and do the same thing here as soon as I get back. So I'm going to get Abundance for America's map, and I'm going to bust out and catch up with my YGROs in Grand Rapids and Detroit and see if we can't get a little more strategy for doing some more local stuff like this, is to have like a maybe a weekend with decent weather we can hope for in Michigan, but to really start coordinating our efforts back at home too. Instead of we all go to Iowa, it's all fine and dandy, but we can do more work Monday through Friday at home, be it at work, at the grocery store, wearing your hat, wearing your gear, wearing your merch, which I have none of it on. It's all packed right now. That's why I don't have nothing on. But yeah, I think that's something we can all inspire others to do. Is, first of all, lead by example. That's a big one. Do it. Don't just say it. Because that's why I think I'm on YouTube saying it. I got to do it too. So that's why I choose to go as many places as I possibly can. And if you live close to Iowa, get your ass there. It's just that simple.
Is there something that you have learned through this process that you feel like is a really key thing that a lot of Yang Gang are missing when you look out and you see how people are activated?
Well, first things first, you gotta. I know everybody says this a lot, but you gotta listen first. You gotta ask. Let them ask. You gotta want to get to the point where they ask you a question. When they ask you a question, they're looking for information. Now they're gonna really listen because they asked the question. They want to hear the answer. I've learned through talking to people and other people's experiences is don't just show them and say, "Hi, I'm Boyce and I'm here to help out Andrew Yang's campaign," la da da da, and say, "Hey, what's the most important thing for you to for the president?" And kind of go from that direction. Ask them about them, not tell them about Andrew. That's gonna come. That'll come. Don't worry about that. Don't wear your gear. Don't even announce Andrew Yang. Just say what is your biggest top 3 reasons for voting for president, and then I can delegate that'll manipulate your approach. If they say Iran or some shit, you better have something ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a new thing we got to think about too. This foreign policy, we got to really get a good grip on this. And I'm personally going to listen to some of his podcasts on my drive tonight to Iowa, where he covers those specific topics, because Iran might be a big one right now, guys. We got to prepare ourselves for that. It just happened, and it's on everyone's mind.
Okay, hold on just 1 minute.
Yes.
Can I interrupt just one thing? I wanted
Absolutely.
to find out if you feel that there's something we don't know. It's okay to say that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's a good reason to put your personal information on here and say, "I don't know, let me get back to you on that. I'll ask around, or I'll ask some people in the campaign for a better answer." And sorry, I don't know enough about that topic. I'll find out, you know, or text, have a little group text for your area and say, "Hey, does anybody know more about this?" And have them come to that address or something, if the person's available or they want to have that conversation, you know. But definitely the right answer, sometimes I don't know. But that's a good way to open the door to stay in touch with someone and have that discussion. And I think that really makes a big difference. And I'm just looking forward to getting out there and canvassing for 3 days and getting some feedback, and then coming back in February to do it again and see who shows up for the canvassing in the areas that we canvass at. And I'm going to go to those gymnasiums or wherever they have them at, you know. I'm not sure where they're going to be at, what places, but I'm going to try and focus more on rural when I'm out and about, honestly, to go more rural, because that's where Quintus has made that abundantly clear. That's the most cost-effective thing with your time, resource-wise, is just go take over a whole damn neighborhood and get 30 people and you win the whole damn district. I mean, 30, we can do that shit. That could be everyone. All 30 people show up, could all be Yang Gang, and that shit's over that quick. I'd love to live stream that. 5 minutes.
You could go to my hometown, West Branch, Iowa. It's right by Iowa City, and it's the birthplace of Herbert Hoover.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. They have a whole little they have a Herbert Hoover presidential library there. Pretty cool.
I have a couch here in Palestine, Texas. So if anybody can get out here from Dallas or Houston, we are welcoming you.
Well, and that's the big thing is I'm going to be on the east side of the state because I'm on the east side of the country. I'm not trying to drive across the whole damn state. So I'm going to be coming into so tomorrow, well tonight when I leave, I'm going to be at the Bowling for Yang at 11:30 in Dubuque, Iowa first. And then I think there's 3 more events that day. I'm going to follow around and do as much live streaming as I can if the signal's good. I hope it's good. If not, I'll have to just edit it that night and give it to you guys as quick as I can. But then Saturday, no, that is tomorrow is Saturday, isn't it? Oh yeah. And then Sunday, I'm gonna go to Des Moines where the big to do is gonna be at, and kind of touch base with everybody, and then get outside the city and head back towards between Des Moines, and I'm gonna go between Des Moines and Iowa City and trying to canvas that area on the way. And then on Sunday, I'm gonna go to Davenport and do that whole area, and that's how I'm kind of tracking my place. I'm not trying to go to the city. I want to go to the, we got to win the outside, just like in Nevada. Quintus had one here about Nevada, and well, in Burke too. It is going to be open season in the outside counties where it's, very, very few between population wise. We can be very, very effective there per capita. That's what I've learned is go to the country, man. Go to these N's and G counties on these maps, and that's where you can really get some more bang for your buck. And that's what I kind of, because everyone talks.
I was really excited when Fred the Felon Ramey came out with his big Truckers for Yang truck. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that they're still fundraising. They want to wrap as many trucks as they can. They've got 3 drivers already ready to go. Actually, 2 extra teams of drivers. And they are the ones that are most likely to be able to roll into these rural communities where we have a Walmart and we still have distribution centers. And he parked in our Walmart parking lot for me. Just so that we can, have some visibility.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you draw a crowd, that's what's going to bring more people. The bigger the crowd, the more people it is going to grow. So that truck is significant. It really, really is. Or if you got a bobblehead, that's something visible that bring a crowd. All that kind of stuff, man. It's just generating buzz, especially in a small town is not shit. Yep.
Not only that, if you get out to the rural community first, okay, you get enough people excited.
Transition
I'm
over.
sorry.
Well, you're okay. The signal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Janky for me. I want to transition over really quick while I got a decent signal. It's not the greatest here. I know in the chat, and I'll try to clarify. But let me pull this up. So what we are looking at here is the map. It's color coded. Let me see if I can get this to expand, and let me shrink it just a little bit. Okay, it is color coded based on the dates of when the voting process starts. This map also shares how many delegates are at stake for each state. The red states that colored red all fall in fewer early Iowa, South Carolina, and Nevada. As Quintus indicated, though, blue states, those states are super, so they're all on the same day. And as you can see, the largest haul of delegates all comes from Super Tuesday. So it's a day, right? That's really where the battling starts to happen. Once the dust settles and people are still in the race after Super Tuesday, then the next largest haul of delegates will be on in March, from the 4th to the 31st, and that's still a good 1,000 delegates that are up for grabs there. April is a little bit, it's going to be 719 delegates available. And, you're looking at states like Wisconsin, Wyoming, Louisiana. But once you get into April, you that are a little less used to getting attention during the election cycle. So these states, anybody who's still in the game, they're going to start making these states to try to get the last votes that they can. May is very skinny. There's not many states in May. Those states include Oregon, Nebraska, Kansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, and there's a haul of about 256 delegates. I'm assuming at this point in time, most people's delegate hauls are going to be pretty understood, and we're just going to be icing the cake at that point, depending on who's in the race.
Yep.
Then the last, very, very end of the cycle is with states like Montana, Southeast, and that occur going to be guaranteed by that. So when you look at the calendar, you can safely break your the states down into 6 different segments, and think about it in that order. And it may even behoove some of you to start linking up states that fall on in those. Is the next bigger. These really do what the hall of delegates is in California. There's over 400 there. Then there's Texas, Utah, Colorado, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Minnesota, Tennessee, Alabama, Virginia, North Carolina, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Maine. Now that next batch of it includes Washington, Idaho, Arizona, North Dakota, Arkansas. Wait, no, not Arkansas. I got that wrong. No, that is Arizona. No, yeah, I think I just put Arkansas twice on accident. Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, Georgia, and Florida. Then when we get into April, the states York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, Louisiana, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and Alaska. May includes Oregon, Nebraska, Kansas, Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia. And then in June, the final states include Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota, New Jersey. But it also includes Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And don't sleep on Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has a larger haul of delegates. It has 51 delegates up for stake. So you Spanish speakers, by all means, please be reaching out into those places. Now,
expats also.
Yeah, expats also. But if you look at like the
Puerto Rican Democratic primaries in March.
What was that?
Is it?
Oh, yeah. It turns out the Democratic
in
primary
March?
for
They
Puerto
have it
Rico,
colored
I think it was March.
Here for. Oh, did it get made this?
Yeah, they got to move up too.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah.
That's cool.
I guess this needs the delegate total that we need for ballot, because that all these delegates are allotted to each of the candidates proportionately, pretty much across the entire country. And then so through a vetting processes where you get people who voted for the same candidate, and you decide amongst each other who should move on and represent you as your delegate. Now, I'm going to pull up Washington State's delegate process so you guys can see that. Let me grab that here and pull that up. Actually, I'll just switch over screens. So let me trash this one. Okay, and then I want to share another screen with you guys. There we go. And share. Okay, Washington State does a really good job of of laying out the calendar and what you should expect. So for state committee meeting, that's going to how they're going to do people who are involved in trying to plan the election itself, party officials and whatnot, and volunteers, people who are regular attendees to the local party. A lot of them are going to be at kinds of meetings, the 31st and February 2nd. Put that as it's going to be a lot of business. Over. Primary ballots are mailed out on February 19th, and then on the final date green that I should know. And here's where it gets important. Be different slightly with each state, but this will give you an aspect in the process. So on April 26th, we're going to legislative district caucuses mean that the people of your legislative district, right? They're going to get together and they're going to decide who's going to be the representatives from your district to be the delegates to move on in the process. Now, everybody gets one vote and everybody gets an opportunity to speak in front of the crowd. So it'll be beneficial to you to know other people in your legislative district to create somewhat of a coalition, because a lot of times, whether you're the delegate or not will depend on 1 to 3 votes at most in a lot of cases, because most people are walking in there and making their assessment based on whatever the people just said right then and there. So anytime you have some kind of coalition or some alliance, you're going to be better off as far as getting through that process. Now, after that, you have some responsibilities as a legislative district delegate. You got to go to the county convention, and at the county convention, you're going to vote on what's called the party platform. Each county has their own party platform. This is the frame for the next 4 years once we get to the national convention and make the national platform. So leading up to that, though, the first place that it starts at is at the county convention and voting on the county platform. Now, as a delegate, you have the ability to amend that platform. And so we're going to get into amendments very quickly, but that is something that I want you to really understand as part of your responsibility as a delegate for Andrew Yang, is to make sure that you make amendments and you know how to make an amendment when the time comes. And we'll go over that process. I have some notes for that so that aren't totally now. Once the uh, uh, the convention goes on and you guys vote
Your
on
sound is coming in and out.
Platform.
Yeah, David, I'm having a very difficult time
The
hearing
legislative district caucuses are also.
I doubt he can hear us either.
you. Well, that's a pity.
Well, while he's figuring out his signal, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce, man. I got to get up in the morning. I got to get up in 5 hours and hit the road. So I'll see you guys in Iowa. Whoever's coming.
Hey, boys.
Yes.
Real quickly, just remember to give that shout out to me later.
Yes.
Remember we and talk to the other people.
All right.
Please.
Yep.
Is my mic
Nice
coming
to
through?
see you, boys.
Good luck.
Is my mic coming through?
Broken?
It's better now.
Yes, it's
20%
better.
of the time.
It's better. Okay. So let me get back to the
All right,
notes.
see you later, boys.
Sorry.
I'll see you guys in Iowa, man.
All right.
All right. Now, the Congressional District Caucus is the last. It's like your semifinal as far as becoming a national delegate. So you want to get through that round, and then once you get through that round, then you're going to go to the state convention. The state convention, they're going to whittle it down one more time. You're going to do one last caucus, and they're going to decide also the state party platform. Okay, so these are your. You're going to find out each state has laid this out differently sometimes, or some are more organized than others. Washington is very organized, so they do a really good job of posting all this stuff on the website. But essentially, it's going to be something like this for each of your own states. Now, at that state convention, though, that's where you want to finally end up. And if you're chosen, then you get to go to the national convention where you get to vote for Andrew, and you also get to vote for the party platform for the next 4 years. So it's a really important role, and you're going to have a lot of meetings other than these meetings that you need to attend leading into it. So that's something I wanted you guys to understand and to go over with you guys really quickly. But let me show you one last little slide here that I've got. And it goes over amendments very quickly. I know it's not going to be digested fully, but hopefully it'll be enough to get you guys started on thinking about this kind of stuff. So let me get here and share the screen. All right, there it is. Can you guys hear me?
We hear you pretty, I think. I hear you.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I could be heard. I know the sound was kind of going out on everybody, so let me scroll down here on this document.
While you were telling us about this delegates and stuff in Washington State, I tried to sign up to become a convention delegate for the Texas Democrats. Filled out all the forms while you were talking.
Yeah. Yep. Some states require some kind of formal request notification that you're going to go for this role. Some states, they just let you sign up when you're there. So you want to be acquainted with the rules state by state for wherever you're at and wherever you plan on voting. So now get the platform amended. The reason this is important is because we want the Democratic Party to say basic income is part of the Democratic Party's ideology and ethos, and they will fight for that for the next 4 years. The delegates have the responsibility of asking to amend or moving to amend the current platform to include universal basic income. Now, the process is a little bit parliamentary, so I'm going to try not to bore the crap out of you, but I'm going to tell you a few key things that you should know. Preferable, get our amendment debate by way of the party convention process at its various levels. So we can get it onto the county party platform, and each county's party platform is process. So you want to get to know those. Normally, you have to be a dues-paying member and a member for longer than some pre-decided amount of time, and that it's normally between 30 and 100. The sturdy, the better. Personally, pitting county convention, you want to have some elections and try to become a voting member and make it to the meeting. That's something you want to try to figure out. Each delegates are asked to vote on motions and amendments decided upon the county party meetings over the course of the year. And then delegates can move to amend the platform before the vote to adopt and the platform if no business is on the table. But often the chair will discourage too much debate due to time constraints with the venue. So what I'm saying is that we can get UBI on the agenda if we join the local Democratic parties and we become dues-paying members and we become part of the planning committees to make that agenda. Now, if we can't figure out that process and we make it through as delegates, when the conventions happen, that first count, we want to take the moment to go up when there's no business and make an amendment to the party platform so that it gets sent up to the state. The more counties within one state that do that, the more opportunities that we have and the more of a larger say-so that we have and the more likelihood that we have to have enough votes to get that passed when we're actually at the conventions. So those are our two ways to clarify. One way is go through the county parties and the procedure to get it all the way to the convention. The other way is that delegates move to amend the party platform when there's no business being conducted or on the table. Now, amendments
That's really
approved by
interesting
the
because I've been attending these meetings at the County Democratic Club, and I have not known how to do that. So thank you very much for telling me what I should be doing while I'm attending these meetings.
Yeah, the official rules of the Democratic Party are based on what's called Robert's Rules of Order. So it's a very commonly used form of order or parliamentary procedure by like boardrooms and universities and all kinds of clubs. If you were an FHA in high school, they probably taught you that. But that's the official way that the Democratic Party makes its decisions. And so the better we are at Robert's Rules of Order, or at least understanding this stuff, the better we are at implementing some of Angie's ideas and injecting them into the Democratic Party. So after we've, if we get it on the agenda, great. If we don't get it on the agenda and we're still planning for delegates to make the amendment, then we need to attend the DNC Rules Committee meeting. Now, the DNC Rules Committee meeting falls just a couple of days before the actual convention gets started. So if you get elected as a delegate, make sure that you set up your time off or that your time to go over to Wisconsin more time than the convention is. So show up early by a few days at least, maybe even up to 5 days, because they'll start this rules committee meeting about 2 or 3 days before the convention starts. And it's responsible for producing a report on the rules of the convention and party and setting the convention agenda. It also recommends individuals to serve as permanent officers of the convention. So we want to have as many of our Yang people in there as officers, and we also want to help have a say-so in setting the agenda for the week. In 2016, the Rules Committee consisted of 187, including 20 leaders and elected officials selected by the Democratic National Committee, and the other 162 members were selected by the states. So it's half federal or national kind of people, and then it's half, came up through the ranks from the states. Now, all delegates can vote. So everybody who gets elected as a delegate has a vote. You could have a say-so in how the party platform gets rolled out, and anyone can make a motion if nothing is on the floor. So the goal of this is proposing the amendment and getting a vote. We don't want to get tabled. So we want to avoid a situation where they want to do some exploratory group or they want to look into it more and come back in 4 years. So, or to just lose in an outright vote. Those are bad scenarios for us. For us, a good scenario is that we get it on the agenda and we know we have enough votes on the floor from the other delegates that are there to get this on the platform. So when no one, when no other business is on the floor, I want to make sure that the signal is clear here. Okay, so make sure that I move to amend the plank titled "Raise Incomes and Restore Economic Security" to include that the Democratic Party supports universal basic income for every U.S. citizen over age 18. Another Yang Gang delegate will have to say, "I second that motion." Once the motion is seconded, then it's open for. Then it has to be put up for discussion. Normally, once it's put up for discussion, the person making the motion, but not necessarily, will be given time to make the case for the motion. So whoever's going to make this motion when we do this together at the convention, they have to know what the hell they're talking about. And they have to be really damn good at getting even them and be a really good arguer and speak passionately. What else is going on? And get this to the table and on the floor. Now, when it goes to a vote, if they vote in favor, UBI, there will be a of the Democratic Party. If you guys need help figuring out stuff, I am only me. Okay. Get you. Okay. Copy link. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys in the comments. So you guys can see all my notes there. But essentially, that is my presentation. We need to start thinking about making amendments to the party platform. Unfortunately, guys, we had a few people drop off, but we have our good friend Burke, who has decided to join us tonight. And I don't know if you guys know Burke, but Burke has been one of the best Yang gang at yanging new people.
Yes. Can we just, I just want to talk to you for 1 second about this before you move on, because this relates to your delegates talk.
And yeah, I would like
If you
to
see
do
on my
that towards
screen
the
for a
end,
minute.
if it's all possible, Faye, to give Burke.
Okay, sure. All right.
It's okay if she wants to finish up. If she, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm only going to take 1 second. This is showing how many people are already delegates in Texas. And you would have to go in through the volunteer form to get this page. So I just wanted to show people that Bernie is way ahead of us here. 1,513.
Well,
hello. And I've got Andrew Yang here in Texas at 258. That's not too shabby. Okay. Let's see if we can get more people in there. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The delegates aren't decided until the vote happens. So all of those people are just people who signed up. That's not how the delegates are decided or allotted. That's just people who signed up. But you guys should definitely go and sign up to be a delegate. But
more
Burke,
people can sign up.
Yeah, Burke. If you wouldn't mind closing us out for the evening, can you share with the audience some of your
Chris
tricks?
is here.
Can you share some of your tricks
Chris,
about?
I think Annette had a quick question.
Okay.
Chris Jackson is here and is waiting to come in.
Okay. I don't see him in the StreamYard.
I told him to go ahead and sign in, so he should be coming in any second.
Okay. So Burke has a show called Burke for Yang and Rideshare for Yang, where he uses his rideshare vehicle to introduce ideas about Andrew Yang and to introduce Andrew Yang in general to people. That's been a really entertaining process to watch, and I get a lot from him about how to start conversations with them. But I think his many different escapades doing this has taught him a lot of insights about how to do this. So Burke, I would love it if you could give the group a little bit about what you do, what you look for, and how you go about it when you are hearing about Andrew Yang, strangers, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Well, hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Burke. I have the hashtag Burke for Yang. I have a couple of series, but my most well-known series is called Rideshare for Yang. So far released, I have like 33 or 34 volumes. Actually shot and getting ready to go, I have a little over 70 volumes. I'm a little lacking on putting them out there. I try to do about one a day, but I'm collecting way more than one a day at this point. Now, I would say the total amount of people I've probably spoken to in my rideshare vehicle about Yang, I'd say about 140, maybe 150. And those are people that I would say that I've had a full-on conversation with. People that I've mentioned his name, I would say about 200. Now, obviously, I always ask if anybody has seen my series. They know that I always make sure, very sure, that I have permission to post anything that I do. If I don't have permission to post, well, then I just delete it when I get home. And that's it. But what I basically look for is, I'd say about 90%, 85% of the time, I wait for them to be talking and find something that Andrew Yang's policy would possibly help for. Like they make a comment of just not having enough money. I said, don't you wish you had the freedom dividend? And they'd be like, huh, what? What's the freedom dividend? You haven't heard about the freedom dividend? No, what's that? Have you ever heard of a man named Andrew Yang? Most of the time they say, no. Who's that? He's the man running for president. And as I'm saying that, I'm reaching into my side console, I'm pulling out a Yang buck. And I'm usually turning around and handing him a Yang buck. And then I basically do my little spiel of, you know, to the man running for president who wants to give every citizen in the United States who's over the age of 18 $1,000 a month, paid for by the big tech companies such as Amazon, Facebook, Google, you know, the ones that make combined close to $1 trillion a year and don't really pay anything in federal taxes. That's not really fair, right? And it kind of goes back and forth. And the majority of the time, they have no idea they're being filmed. So I usually get their real, true responses and how they feel. Some people just, that's it, and they don't want to talk about it anymore. And it just ends right there. They got the buck, they leave, and nothing else gets talked about, depending on what their mood is. Now, if I feel that there might be something there, I usually ask them, hey, I have a little series called Rideshare for Yang. Would you mind if I post this? And then I usually tap the camera and say, you know, as you see, there's stickers everywhere saying that, you know, being a rideshare driver, of course, I have a camera in my car. And I'd say about 70% of the people say, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then the other things, for various reasons, say no. Where I've had just a couple, haven't had any released it like this yet, but I actually have a few filmed that say, I have no problem with you releasing it, but I don't want my face shown. Okay, well, my camera faces two ways. It faces out into the street or in. So I can just either show the outside, or I've been doing editing, so I can just put something over their whole body so you'll never see who they are. It'll just be a voice. Because I'm always going to respect people's wishes.
So, but on the technique, though, you're really starting your conversations by kind of casually mentioning some kind of policy about Andrew Yang.
Usually,
man, that sure would be a lot of it in, you know, man, I can't wait to get that. And then they go, you know about the freedom dividend? And then they go, oh no, what's that? And then you ask them if they know who Andrew Yang is, right? Is it sort of like that kind of a process?
For the most part, at least in my earlier episodes. Now I honestly spend, I'd say, 6 to 10 hours a day working on Yang stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, and I do it 7 days a week. So as far as I'm concerned, this is my full-time job. Doing the rideshare stuff, that's my part-time job. And I mentioned that. People, well, very often, people, while you're in a rideshare, will ask you, so is this the only thing you do? No, I have another job. I do social media stuff for a guy named Andrew Yang. Oh, who's that? I mean, you'll see a lot of that more in my later coming episodes. That's how the conversation gets started. You know, so and to all the people that have supported me and stuff, you know, thank you. That's what makes this a real job for me now. But I do that. And as far as most of the rideshare platforms are, you're allowed to promote your other job. You just can't be, you know, over the top with it. So that also allows me to speak politics, because politics is my second job, or my full-time job, and they're my second job. So that's the other way that I bring it up. And occasionally, you know, I will just turn to people, sometimes the younger people or single mothers, and be like, you know, there's somebody's trying to give us $1,000 a month, and then I hand them a Yang buck. You know, and just do it that way. It really depends. I do it case by case. I mean, it's a lot different than like door knocking, because then you can just go right up and do it. Being a rideshare driver, I have to be a lot more cautious about it too, because one of the things we're not allowed to do is push our political opinions on people. So, you know, I have to take kind of a delicate edge on it, I should say.
Is there something you're looking for on anybody? Is there any kind of tell that you can tell about somebody that's like, okay, I can Yang this person?
No, not really. Not. I mean, I've Yanged people that I wouldn't have thought that I wouldn't have. And I brought up Andrew Yang to, I thought, to people that would have been very receptive. And let's just say you're never going to see those episodes. So,
Right.
I mean, when you watch my
So the thing is,
series, you see a very skewed. When you watch my series, you see a very skewed episode or reality of what all my reactions are. You only see the good reactions. You know, now if I get somebody on here who's a hardcore Bernie Sanders supporter, a hardcore Trump supporter, and we talk about Andrew Yang, and they allow it, and they're against Andrew Yang, I will still air that. You know, I'm not the one that'll, you know, only if it's praising Andrew Yang am I going to air it. Now, I will say, honestly, I've had quite a few people say that the UBI just won't work, or they think it's too good to be true. But I haven't had anybody that I can really think of off the top of my head that has just been completely against him. Like, I get a lot of people in my car that are completely against Trump. Use the F word on Trump a lot, you know, and stuff. But I have none of that for Andrew at all. So that's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, Burke, I appreciate you sharing some of your experiences, and you do a really good job going out there and yanging people. If you guys haven't watched it yet, you can catch it on our page, the Yang Gang Report. And also, Burke has his own YouTube channel. It's Burke Anderson and Burke for Yang, Burke, the number 4 and Yang. So make sure you get out there, check it out, you know, like it and share it. But also, it's a really fun and interesting way to watch people interact about Andrew Yang. And you'll definitely learn a few easy, casual ways of making conversation about it. So thank you, Burke. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
One last thing I was just going to throw in here is I got a brand new thing today, just got into my hand today. I was just going to share it. Is for people that once they're getting out of my car, a lot of people are like, so what was his name again? I mean, I've given them a card, but they want to watch like my YouTube channel or something like that or learn more about him. And I just got my business cards in my hand today. There's one side, and that's the front side is basically for Andrew Yang, and then the second side is basically just for you know, for the rideshare for Yang, for where they are, so they can look it up. And I also are going to give this to people that say no, with the reassurance of, hey, here's my channel. You know, you're never going to see yourself on it. You can monitor yourself, and who knows, maybe just by making sure that I'm not putting their stuff on there, they get yanged in the process.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They can check on whether or not you respected their wishes. Absolutely.
Right. And, you know, I always will. They'll never see it on there, but maybe by watching all this other content, they'll fall for Andrew Yang at that point.
Awesome.
Also, Burke, I really enjoyed all those, is that Christmas cards and stuff that you did for us? I love that. The Christmas
like the music videos? Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I love those.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of those, not just for Christmas, too. I mean, I'm going to be putting them out on a fairly regular basis with a lot of the new Yang stuff and stuff that's happening, you know, current. And if there's any artists out there that have Yang songs or Yang pictures or Yang memes, and they want to get them out there on some of my videos, just message them to me. I'm always looking for new content. I try to put out at least one video a day.
I'd love to hear more women's voices. We've seen a lot of videos made by music videos made by men, and I'd like to just hear more women doing whatever kind of music that they love to do, because I just men's voices, and there's not as many so far. I'd love to hear more of that.
Yeah, I only have one really, or well, two, but that's out of quite a few.
Awesome. So next we have.
I'm looking for some women voices to help out with that, Faye. Okay.
So next we have Jeff Miller, and Jeff started a super PAC for Andrew Yang called Abundance for America. And I'll let Jeff kind of tell a little bit about his own background and his involvement with the Yang campaign, and his presentation, how super PACs fit into the Yang Gang, because I know a lot of you guys have questions about what can you do, how can you interact with them, how much can you be involved. So let's let Jeff dispel some of the confusion and clarify how they are Yang Gang.
Yeah, we can only hope by dispel confusion and not make it worse, you know. So
Are you
I'm
muted,
Jeff. Am I muted?
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Are we
No, you're
good?
good.
I hear you very well, Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Faye. I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about all you guys, truthfully. So I'm Jeff. For those of you that don't know me, Quintus, Rondi, and myself started Abundance for America. We're a little super PAC founded out of the Yang Gang operations team. So David asked me to talk about a few things here. Really, what is the role of a super PAC in the Yang Gang? How does that relate to the things we're trying to do here? And I'm going to approach this from sort of two different ways. There's the specific case for each individual super PAC, and then there's the general case, which is a little more abstract. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. So Abundance for America, it's really it's formed out of the Yang Gang operations team. So shortly after Quintus, Rondi, and myself left the HQ sponsored Yang Gang, we started searching for other ways that we could contribute to the movement. And in our opinion, the easiest and fastest way to do that was to start a super PAC. And a super PAC basically is a group of individuals who have decided to spend their time raising money and spending it in benefit of a candidate. More on that in a second, I promise. So basically the way it works is that this concept boiled down to one thing, and it was right after our mention in Politico. I saw a post on Reddit about super PACs, and they were asking a question that boiled down to one thing, which was that if you support Andrew and you have organizational expertise and you have political experience, why not try to use that experience through the campaign? And for those unfamiliar, we did. The Yang Gang operations team was founded by Rondi, Quintus, myself, and a few others who I'll just not mention for the sake of anonymity. I don't know. I didn't discuss with them ahead of time. So we were functioning as the point of the spear between HQ and HQ sponsored Yang Gang. It was a learning experience. We got an inside look at a lot of things that were not necessarily secret, but not necessarily spoken outright. You know, it was very interesting. We were responsible for things like the regional slacks, foay.org, the Yang Gang handbook. Through that time, we observed a number of different things, and they were always the same, and I know you guys know what they are. I don't have supplies, I don't know what the strategy is, and I have an idea. Well, I found that the first two I couldn't really do anything about. I couldn't get them supplies. I couldn't necessarily share the strategy that we were privy to. But the third one really irked me, and it wasn't the fact that somebody was saying, I have an idea. It was my response to their point. And that was, I remember thinking, I don't want to hear your idea if you don't know how to fund it. And to me, that's inherently wrong. Like, there's no way that I, as somebody who's supposed to be functioning between HQ and the Yang Gang, should be trying to get out of a conversation like that, right? So to me, it was clear that there was a problem there with the way I was processing that. And what it was is that we were trying to protect HQ. HQ was trying to regulate Yang Gang's behavior. Now, I'm not saying that they're wrong or what they're trying to do is incorrect. We were in the wrong place, so we got out of there and started Abundance for America. And with that kernel of sort of wanting to do more, with that kernel of wanting to find where our place was, Abundance was simply focused on empowering, protecting, and creating new members of the Yang Gang. So we do this by a couple of different things like legal safe haven for in-kind contributions, material resources, strategic direction. Really, our goal is to provide Yang supporters with the tools and resources they need to be successful in whatever way they see is relevant. So it if we sort of extrapolate this to all super PACs, it kind of gets a little more abstract. So I'll get through this one a little quickly. A super PAC, again, really is just an individual or a group of individuals who have decided to spend money to benefit a campaign. That's it. And that really just allows them to do whatever they want, given a couple of stipulations. So the biggest one is that it cannot be spent in coordination with the campaign, any money that's raised. And typically it looks like media buys, Facebook, Google ads, TV ads, stuff like that. It's just a mechanism to provide legal safe haven for anyone who wants to spend more than $2,800 per election cycle. That's it. That's all a super PAC is, and there are a couple of rules that govern that kind of behavior. The part where it gets abstract is like what that means for our elections, right? Being raised in America, we are sold this idea that we live in a democracy, even though we all know we live in a republic, and that in a democracy, every vote matters. The existence of super PACs changed that focus a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit, from votes being the things to matter, that now it's dollars that matter, if that makes sense. So that sort of means that not every vote is equal, right? Someone's vote then becomes inherently tied to their economic status because those who have money also have influence. If we move on from that and kind of look at it from like a pros and a cons perspective, like I agree with most people in the Yang Gang that super PACs should not exist, but they do. And if we dig in a little deeper, we'll see that like super PACs that benefit Andrew Yang start to look like a necessary evil. Right. And what I mean by that is that at the end of Q2, super PACs benefiting Donald Trump raised nearly $20 million. That's at the end of Q2. And that does not include his campaign. Right. Those are outside groups alone. So I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I don't really want like that to seem discouraging. I'm saying that we have to win by the rules. And super PACs are a tool that exist within the rule that allow us to fight above our weight. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what a super PAC is, what it does. Its specific role in the Yang Gang is dependent on the super PAC. So Abundance for America is focused on supplying and empowering Yang Gang. That's it. Other super PACs out there are focused on different activities. Faye, go ahead.
Thank you so much for recognizing me to speak for a moment. I just want to say that you're assuming that everybody who contributes to a super PAC has already maxed out, because we encourage people to contribute to the campaign first before they, fund a super PAC. But at the same time, when you see a great idea that is happening for the Yang Gang, or if you see, something a project that you really want to sign on to, you might contribute to that just because you want to see that truck get wrapped, or you want to see that particular project get on the streets. That I saw a project where they had paid for a truck to put up the meme circus. That was amazing. And so you might just see something that you want to be a part of, and you might contribute to that. Now, if a single person could actually pay for that thing all by themselves, I would say that's undue influence. But here we have a super PAC that's going to collect the amount of money necessary to do it, maybe $8,000 to wrap that truck, from 400 different donors, who that's an average of $20, right? $20 per person. So how is that evil? That's not evil. So super PACs, in and of themselves, people get confused and believe that it's always, representing somebody who's wealthy. But no, the problem is individuals like myself or somebody who doesn't have enough money, cannot buy a TV ad on our own. We can only pool our resources in order to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Burke, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, well, I would just like to message you after this is done, if it's possible.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. Matter of fact, I'd love to talk to anybody watching who has questions about super PACs or what their relationship is to the Yang Gang. And what, Faye, to your point, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, please finish your point.
I have one more comment. My other comment is that, as I understand it, the minimum amount required to, create this legal problem that you are now, you now require a super PAC to handle it is only $1,000 of collection or expenditure. So if you collect over $1,000 from people who are trying to support your project, all of a sudden you need a super PAC, right? In order to be correctly within the boundaries of the law, which is very low. I mean, that's below the minimum amount that, can be contributed to a campaign.
So that was actually my next point. You took the words right out of my mouth. So there is a $1,000 in-kind contribution limit. Anybody who goes over that is technically breaking the law. That's anything, right? If you are buying business cards for your Yang Gang, if you are buying business cards for yourself and giving them out in your own neighborhood, business cards are one of those things where it's unlikely to be the thing that puts you over the $1,000. But if you're shipping them around the country, that shipping starts getting included, and you can see it adding up. You know what I mean? So that's why a group like Abundance for America exists, is so that everyone who wants to do something like that has legal safe haven to do so, if that makes sense.
Yep. One question, Jeff.
Yeah.
Everybody always wants to know, what's the line between the campaign and the super PACs, in the sense of, if you're just a volunteer for a campaign, does that make you campaign, or do you have to be paid by the campaign, or where does it start to be coordination, and where is it like, oh, you guys just are being scared?
Yeah. So I would say that more often than not, it tends to be the latter. There was a policy put out by a staffer who no longer works with the campaign that was dictated towards governing people and not governing actions, if that makes sense. Quintus says that all the time. The goal was to prevent people from interacting with a super PAC when that's not necessary. You just got to know which hat you're wearing, right? Like, if I'm going to my family Christmas, I'm not going to wear my marijuana math hat. I'll wear my regular math hat and still piss my family off, you know? Like, it's all fine. The key is to know what it is that you're interacting about. So I can go have a conversation with Andrew. I can talk to Zach. I can talk to Carly, anybody. We can't talk about money. That's it. And we can't know any schedule in advance. Those are basically the two things, you know? So people who want to interact with the super PAC and the campaign, just know which hat you're wearing when you're doing it.
And is that true for people who are paid? Or, I mean, for people who aren't paid, like volunteers, are they able to talk about whatever, or are they not allowed to talk about money to you?
Faye, you got your hand up.
Well, I felt especially bad because there had been an incident where some of us volunteers were kind of excluded from things because they were saying that, like, we had talked to somebody who was in a super PAC. Well, we never even received any assistance from the super PACs, but there was this like fear that, the super PACs are going to steal us as volunteers from the campaign. And really, I mean, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. As I understand it, I can volunteer for anything that is publicly acknowledged. I mean, everybody knows that there's going to be a rally there, so I can go. It doesn't matter where I get my money from in order to do that. I mean, my mom could be supporting me to do that. How is that a problem?
Right. You're exactly right. And Faye, you're one of the examples that I reference quite often. You don't know this, but I reference you all the time. Of someone who got caught up in the mix, in the confusion due to HQ's misstep. And again, that staffer no longer works there. So it's just a matter at this point, as people in the Yang Gang, of sort of breaking that train of thought, right? So everybody's still sort of unsure of how super PACs work or what the thing is. Honestly, just come talk to us, man. We're not that scary. Look at me. I'm in my kitchen. Yeah. Burke, what do you got, man?
Well, I would like to hear the answer to David's question.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are a volunteer, you can talk to me as long as you are not talking to me about schedule that is not public information. So the reality is that most volunteers are not going to have any sort of strategy or financial information that's going to put anybody at risk.
Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure if I'm not in a room strategizing with the campaign and finding out about things that the public has no knowledge of, then I'm okay to talk about anything I know from just anything that's already been published on Facebook, anything that's come out on Twitter already. That's public knowledge.
Exactly. You got it. So, Bert, I would like to talk to you afterwards. Please shoot me a message. Anybody else who wants to, who's watching or watches this at a later date, please hop on our website, abundanceforamerica.com. You can find the Yang maps there. You can find our contact information. I'd love to talk to all you guys about how we can help.
Do you have my contact information to get a hold of me? Because I have no way of getting a hold of you as of now, or do I have to go through the website? Or
I've got you on Facebook. I'm pretty sure I can pull you right up.
Well, yeah. Please messenger me.
Excellent. So that's it for me, guys. I'm out for the night, and it was a pleasure it was a pleasure being here. Thank you, seriously, for having me. I've been trying to stay under the radar as much as possible, but David and Boyce and Quintus finally got me on a live stream. So thank you very much for having me.
Yay! Thanks for coming, Jeff. See you later. Nice meeting you. All right. So we lost David for a minute.
I've learned a lot talking to Quintus, because one of the things he always says is that the actions that we take, all of these things that we're trying to make happens at the speed of trust. And so it's great that we've got Jeff coming out and talking to people and showing his face to everyone, because it builds our trust between us. And that, I think, is what Burke was doing when he put out all of those videos with everyone's photos and everyone's it's when you see the people in person doing something, you trust them more. And so that makes what we need to happen. We only have 30 days left. All right, let's get that first. We gotta really make that push.
Awesome. So, guys, sorry, I keep having signal issues. I'm on a public Wi-Fi. I was trying to get to a stable spot, but I needed to use the Wi-Fi here. So here we are. I have Chris Jackson waiting patiently. Chris is basically down for the cause from Iowa, and he has been raring to go in Iowa for quite a while now. He's actually been down with Andrew, pre-Joe Rogan days. So he's been in the field. He's experienced a lot of ups and downs on there, and to really lay out Iowa really and because I know a lot of people are heading down for the campaign too, and moving over there and transferring over there and heading over there. So Chris, are you online with us? Can't really see you over there. I'm imagining you're in the dark.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Chris. Awesome. So
we can hear you.
Have the
we
floor,
don't have
sir.
any video.
If you want to do a little rundown about who you are and some of your background, that'd be great.
Oh, totally. So let me, man, I just lost my. Actually, let me come back when you talk. So I'm in the car driving back from a town hall that was just held in Perry, and so I'd love to share that experience with guests. Let me be right back. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll hang on for Chris. While that goes on, you want to say something, Faye?
I always have something else to say. Is there any way you could put up that how to speak to people about Andrew Yang link that I sent you? I wrote this way back in September, and I think that it's more important than ever now for people to take the time to Yang your own family and your friends, all right? The people that trust you the most and that care about you most, if nothing else, they'll be interested in what you've been doing with your time, even if they don't agree with you. And I know people are terrified of opening their mouth to somebody who might not agree with them, that maybe all your friends are more progressive than you or believe themselves to be. Or maybe all your friends are just, completely the other side. Maybe you have a lot of Trumpers in your family. And that's all right. If you open your mouth to them, it's not going to happen for you the very first time that you say something. It's going to happen the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth time. And you still have time for that. We still have that 1 month. So keep mentioning them. This is completely different than what Burke is doing, where he's probably not going to see those same people again. All right. You're talking about family members that you're going to see over and over, and you're going to call your friends on a weekly basis. People that you see over and over, don't be afraid to break that relationship, because you're not going to do that. You're going to give them the chance to say no to you. Okay. Let them say no to you. Then the second time you speak to them, maybe allow them to ask you a question. Or what you want to do is you want to build that intrinsic motivation, that curiosity about what is it that, Faye is doing all the time? Why is she so interested in this person? Or a little intrinsic, motivation, say, well, I have a question and Faye doesn't know the answer. Maybe I'll look it up. Okay. So it's fine for you to not know everything. Let Yang speak for himself. Give them the different tools to get to, YouTube Andrew Yang, find out what he's saying, send them a book. Okay, and give them a chance to find out on their own, because that's the strongest way of bringing somebody into the movement, is that they want to know about it. So accept that no for an answer, but just keep at it. Every few minutes, every time you see them again, tell them a little bit about what you're doing, and get that interest going.
We got
Thank
Chris.
you.
Yeah, thanks, Faye. Okay, we got Chris.
Hey, hopefully,
Chris, are you,
hopefully my
hearing
signal
us?
doesn't cut out. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please,
Okay.
just you have the floor.
Thank you. So my name is Chris Jackson. I live in Iowa. I've been kind of involved in politics. I would say heavily since like 2012, especially like local politics. And I learned about Andrew Yang back in August of last year. So August 2018. Oh, 2018. It's now 2020. That's awesome. So August 2018, saw him at the Iowa State Fair. I think I had actually heard of him before that, but I didn't really pay much attention. I saw his like stump speech that hasn't really changed too much. And yeah, so I really started kind of catching on, and I was like, what can I do to help? I guess like December of 2018. So I got on some of the efforts to like make sure the HQ Reddit had more subscriptions pre-Rogan, just to make sure like that was the one that people went to, because there were a few out there and none of them really had many subscribers. So it wasn't terribly hard, but maybe that did something. Anyway, so now I am kind of a volunteer in Iowa. I've been, the first time I met Andrew was February 2019. I went to a small group of local Democrats who were meeting for breakfast, and that was where he spoke. And I went with a couple other people, or at least we met there, and we were the only people. There were about 5 of us under the age of like 50. And these were like the likely Democratic caucus goers, and they didn't really seem to think Andrew was as impressive as I thought he was. And so I've been trying since then to figure out like, what is the winning message? Like, how do we appeal to specifically Iowa? I'm not really too focused, I've only got the one state to worry about, and I like it that way. So it happens to be the first one as far as caucusing. And so what's a caucus versus a primary? Well, in Iowa, the caucus is like an in-person vote, basically. And it's kind of uncomfortable. It's kind of, a lot of people don't like it, and they don't, kind of hide their feelings about that. So anyway, so what do we need in Iowa? That's what I was asked. And so it's very simple. One, we need people. We don't, until recently, we didn't have many people. So one of the best things that I have to say is the crowd that was there in Perry, Iowa tonight. Dude, this was crazy. Okay, check this out. Perry, Iowa is about 7,500 people. It's actually smaller than where I live in Grimes. Grimes is about 10,000 or so. And Grimes is dead. Like Grimes, like there's there's hustle and bustle when people are going to work or whatever. But like as far as evenings go, there's not much of an activity, vibe there. And Perry's a bustling place for how many people are there. And we were knocking on doors from about 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. just letting everybody know that Andrew Yang was going to be there at it was called the Perry Perk. It's like a coffee shop down in their Main Street area. Nice place, and smaller place though, wasn't that big. And so I asked someone from the campaign, were you expecting this? And the first question they said was, are you with the press? And I don't think I am. I was actually streaming on Yang Stream, so that was a complicated question, but I said no. And then I put the phone down. And so he said, well, yeah, we were not expecting this. We were not expecting. So what happened? They had like hundreds of people show up. I mean, like nothing like this has ever happened in Iowa. So until basically this moment, there hasn't really been people that we could use. And so here's the thing. The second thing we need is to coordinate effectively with the campaign. So you kind of unpacked what like the PAC things are and the limitations, and obviously the campaign doesn't want to or cannot coordinate with them. Gets complicated. So if you support a PAC, fine. I don't have a bone to pick with it, but they cannot really know that. Their job is to shut you down, like as soon as they know that. So if you do have an affiliation, you want to help with the campaign, the best way you can do that, if you're in Iowa or pretty much anywhere, is to just go to the campaign office or find a contact and say, hey, I want to volunteer. I don't want to be paid, blah, blah, blah. All I want to do is volunteer. Tell me what I need to do. So the campaign has a fair amount of data. They're pretty confident in where they need to deploy people. And so what we need, what they need from us is just us. Like they just need people to be able to follow up and implement the strategy that they have. They've got targeted areas. Those are for canvassing. The ones that can't really be reached, or it's impractical, or it seems like it's going to be a loss, we phone bank the hell out of. And but the good news is it seems to be working. We had like 10, I guess maybe 10 or 15 people canvassing in Perry. We personally knocked on about 60 doors or so. So I guess our rate was like 20 an hour. And we had some conversations. A lot of people weren't home. Most everybody knew who Andrew Yang was. We even had like a Trump guy who immediately was like, no, and like had an NRA hat on and was like, no. And I was like, oh, that's fine, man. And he's like, oh, but I will take the $1,000. Like he knew all about it. And then, and I was with, and Matthew Tao, I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, but Matthew Tao's with me. He's holding the camera, and he's been holding the camera a lot today. So thank you, Matt. So Matt and I went to canvas. We canvassed together, and so we had that kind of like shared experience where we were like, like we went up to someone's house and they had a bumper sticker on that said "Defund Planned Parenthood." We kind of both looked at each other like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, is it? And like the dude came out like immediately and was like, hey guys, like what's going on? Yeah, I literally just heard Andrew was gonna be here on the radio. Like it seems interesting to me. And we're like, wow, that was like not what we thought was gonna happen. And so as a result, hundreds of people, I would say there were 300 or more people there. Like I'm pretty sure this was as many or more people as what showed up at the Iowa City rally after Andrew's bus tour. Like this was exactly what needed to happen. So to the point where they were thinking maybe about going to a different venue altogether. And instead of having Andrew, like initially they had these two little platforms for him to stand on by a window. He ended up standing on the bar, like just so like the whole building, because there was this thing splitting it in two. So the whole building could kind of see. I mean, there's still too many people. A lot of people probably couldn't even see him. So this is the first time anything like that has happened in Iowa. So mark the date, because like this is a win, dude. And I met someone from Denmark who flew in, and like John Sullivan from Hong Kong was there. And there were these two girls, Abigail and Allie, who came from Louisiana. And just like so many people have, been inspired by this message. And, the best thing I heard from all of those people was, we came to figure out what it takes, kind of. Like, we want to understand the system and get some, like, hands-on experience. They were actually, I think all of them were kind of like journalists. All three of, like, Anton was the guy from Denmark, and then, oh, there's so many people. But anyway, good news is it's working, but it's only working because all of a sudden there's people. So to win Iowa, we need people who can canvass, who are willing to just let these things roll off. You know, when you encounter someone who doesn't like Yang, and I had the guy the other day say, there's no way in hell on God's green earth I would ever support Yang. And
Wow.
I was like, that's fine, man. Like, what do you say? Like, no, you're wrong. Like, curse you. Like, no, like, we just have to be, because honestly, here's what we need. We need 15% of about 10% of everyone here. And so the chances of you finding that person who's going to be like, absolutely, I will show up to caucus for Andrew Yang, slim to none. I mean, there's 40,000 of them across a state of 3.1 million, and it takes about 8 hours to cross either way. Like, you go, like, it's not the smallest state. So anyway, that's about all I have. I had a
Chris.
slide. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, did you hear about the fact that there were more undecided people wanted to share a beer with Yang than in Iowa than any other candidate?
Yeah, I saw that. It was on WHO TV, a local Des Moines channel. And so I guess they had a group of about 10, maybe like 12 to 15 people, I think, that had been polled beforehand. They were all undecideds. They were still undecided, but they asked, like, with Exile beer, because Exile is a great brewery, and they said, who would you want to share an Exile beer with? And they all said, and pretty much I think all of them said Andrew Yang. Yep, and so that just speaks to his appeal. We knocked on someone's door today, and she said, you know, after it seemed like we were breaking in because we were trying to like put this literature in her door, and so she opens it, and we're like, oh, hey, sorry for disturbing you. I always say that, sorry for disturbing you, because we're breaking into their peace and quiet life. A lot of people don't want it, but she said, I'm actually committed to caucus for Pete Buttigieg, but isn't Andrew going to be in town tonight? Like, she knew all about it. So a lot of these people keep up. And so even those undecideds, they're probably going to know. And they're just kind of like, I don't know. A lot of them just don't know what to make of this stuff yet. And maybe they want to hear the candidates speak more. Like, the first question that was asked at the town hall tonight was about, oh, hey guys. So I'm just driving back in this terrible storm. So the first question they asked was like, what would you do about Iran? And like, he doesn't really get foreign policy questions, but at the same time, there hasn't really been a whole lot to comment on, like, other than maybe the Kurds or whatever. And he kind of, like, the person who asked the question really unpacked it, and he like empathized with them. I think he tried. I don't know about that person, but some of them were like, he said, what's your name? Thank you for your question. Like, he's very nice. I was watching this one person though, who was just like, oh, like the whole time. They just couldn't believe that this was happening. I tried to interview a couple people and find out, you know, that's how I started talking to these people. And pretty much all of them like what they heard. Like, they think he has, one of the things they like the most is that he has like newer or innovative solutions, and he's like a forward-oriented type of a candidate. Yeah. And in Iowa in specific, what's up?
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you. You go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. No,
actually, Chris, I wanted to ask you to recap what you had said. So basically, to extract from that, if you can get your body down to Iowa, like if you got some vacation time and airplane miles, do it, use it, get down there. You need bodies. If people cannot show up, is phone banking Iowa, is text banking Iowa a good secondary support?
So phone banking is like just as effective as canvassing, I think. And the only thing that's like in our way with phone banking is the fact that the volume of robocalls is so high that Congress has actually done something about it as of like a couple of days ago. It's not like sufficient, but it's clearly on everyone's radar. Like, a lot of constituents are saying, dude, what's up with all of these spam calls. So the thing is, if it's like a lot of people are just gonna not answer. But here's the thing: a lot of people aren't even home. Like of canvassing, probably 80% of the doors you knock on, no one's gonna be there. That's why like literature is so important, and the campaign has I want to say plenty of it, like, but we also have plenty of it too. Like there's plenty of places to get it. But yeah, if you can get here and physically canvass, my best recommendation though is like you need to know that you're supported. It's really tempting to think, oh my God, like they need something done wherever it is. In this case, Iowa. I should go. And if you can go and be like supported by someone, it's good to go in pairs, especially with canvassing. So you should probably come as a pair if you can, because otherwise it gets a little too much, I think.
Yeah.
And if
I
you're
like
not
that
well
idea of
connected,
pairing up.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
perfect. Like that's the best idea. Like John from Hong Kong, he's traveling around with his mom from Minnesota.
Yay.
And
Chris,
like,
in case, I don't know if you've heard that we have a group that's sponsoring Yang Week out there. Are you familiar with Yang Week?
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, am I allowed to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
But basically, it's easy to find Yang Week. Just go to yangweek.com. We've got people who are sponsoring people to get out there. So if you're afraid that you can't get out there because you don't have enough money for gas, you don't have enough winter gear or something you need in order to get out there, you can get on there on that website and talk to other people about how to get down there and do what you want. You can also find people to pair up with, and they will even train you for what you need to do.
Perfect. I know the campaign's doing some stuff. I know that's on the, you know, a lot of efforts. The important thing is like you need to be it's going to be uncomfortable. Like I'm not, you know, when I started this thing, I did not have my last name out there, and now like everyone knows it. And so I don't really like that, but like, so it's out of my comfort zone. That's all I'm saying. If knocking on random people's doors is out of your comfort zone, you should go with someone who can just constantly encourage you. And also, where is here? Like, right? So the site that I just came across is like yangnearme.org, maybe. Send the link to everyone here in a bit. And oh, we're like super close now. Sweet, we made it. But yeah, so where is here? So the campaign specifically, they're targeting the like northwest. So if you just like split Iowa into quarters, they're targeting the northwest corner, up like Orange City, Sioux City, and Storm Lake, and then the southeast corner, and that's where Andrew's going to be for the next 3 days. Is like Burlington, Clinton, Fairfield, Fort Madison, Mount Pleasant, all these different places. And so those are the places they need people the most. And if you're not like the Trekkie type that wants to deal with the worst winter weather ever, you should probably go to the southeast corner of the state. That's going to be a little less intense. The northwest corner, a lot more rural and a lot more weather. So that's just something to consider if you're thinking like, where should I go? I mean, Des Moines is a good place to land. It's smack dab in the middle. You know, that's where if you fly, like you'll probably fly in to Des Moines. So get plugged in.
I think I'm a mistake. I might have said yangweek.com by accident. I think it's yangweek.org. Okay, please use that yangweek.org. Also, there's another group called yangswagangels.com. That one is a .com. And if you go to yangswagangels.com, they're trying to match up people who need gear in order to represent Yang, like this one right here. I have to give a shout out to my Yangels. All right, my Yangel sent us 2 of these beanies and some other gears so that we can represent in the cold. Okay, yeah. I can see the math hats are not going to be too much use in Iowa if you're freezing cold over there.
I also have been lucky enough to receive 3 so far through them. So yeah, it's a great site.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, is there anything anybody wanted to add to the stream? We've got 10 more minutes if we want it, but we've gone for an hour and 48. So, you know, is there anything you guys want to cover that we didn't cover, or any questions that you have for anybody that's still on before we wrap up?
I can't even think of anything. We've covered so much.
One second. I just want to show you guys, if you can see on the image. So I literally live like right over there. You can probably see my building. and this is Grimes 2. We have so many people in Grimes 2. Like, we're going to totally win this area. So just a quick boast here.
Yeah. Simba, all of this
We
will
got
be
it.
yours.
Yes! Everything the snow touches, bro.
Yeah.
It's miserable right now, but it's kind of beautiful and also very, very cold. So, yeah. If you can figure out how to stay warm, come to Iowa. If you like the warm, go to Nevada, right? Isn't it still pretty nice over there?
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
yep.
It's a little chilly, but it's not too bad.
Well, as I understand it, even though Iowa is very, very important, and these things are gonna happen so quickly, right? We've got Iowa coming, and then we've got pretty much up through the Super Tuesday, and after that, it could be very quickly over for a lot of candidates. So we need to really make that important push right now in this last month. Don't let anything wait that you can do it now, okay? And then because if we don't have a good showing in those early states, it may be over. So we want to put everything in right now in this last month.
Yeah, everything that we can, we want to get to the people that we know are going to vote in those caucus states, especially, and we want to get them ready to make the case for Andrew Yang live in person, and get them ready to talk, because that's actually the biggest thing when it comes to a caucus, is that you can actually talk and make your case to everybody else. Burke, what you got?
I was just going to say that, right after, not far after Iowa, it's going to be Nevada, where I'm at. And I can let everybody know that, we need help in Vegas, but even more so, the rural part of Nevada a lot of it is untouched. The people here in Vegas, the local Yang Gang here and the headquarters down here for Vegas will help you out if you're willing to come and do some of the central portions of Nevada. Nobody's there right now. It's empty. So we're going to need your help there too. Maybe Iowa's a little bit too far, or right after Iowa, you want to go somewhere, we're going to need you in Nevada, especially in the rural areas. There's a lot of spread out areas, and Reno, they have people, and of course down here in Nevada, in Las Vegas we do, but a lot of the central part is pretty much, there's nobody there.
Hey Faye, can you give Don those URLs again? Can you type them up in the chat or the comments so that he has them?
I actually do not know how to do that. I'm so sorry. When I type it in the chat, it goes into the private chat, and I don't know how to.
How is it worse now that we're like in Grimes?
Oh, if you put it in the private chat, I can copy and paste it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I send it to you by on the Facebook Messenger. Is that all right?
Was it? Wait, is he asking? Are they asking for the yangweek.org and the yangswagangels.com?
Yeah, I think so. yangswagangels.com, and then yangweek.org. Yeah.
And if you can find Yang, I think it's yangnearme.org or commerce. If someone can look that up, because I'm still driving, it's going to have the location of every office in Iowa at least. That's the only one I've looked at. But so it's got the office, it's got the organizer's email, it's got the address of the office. So it's a super good resource to have, and it kind of places, you can see where, like the closest place. Think of it like your home base or whatever.
Yeah, it's like an interactive map.
Does everybody know about?
What?
Does everybody know about the mobilize.us? All right, we've got a website just for Yang events. That's www.mobilize.us. Mobilize is with a Z, all right, and /Yang 2020, and do another / if you can, and then that's going to take you to see any events that are close to you. If you're not traveling to Iowa, we still need you because every delegate counts. So if you can get, one extra delegate in your area, that's fine, right? That's still a great job you did. All right.
Hey, Annette, can you type it in the chat, because my internet is all messed up because I'm running the stream.
Okay, so the first one was yangweek.org. And
Hey guys, I'm gonna
then,
take off here because I'm on a busier road now, so I'm gonna focus here.
Sounds
But
good.
thanks for having
Okay.
me.
Yeah, thanks
Very
for
Thanks
good.
for hosting this, David. Appreciate it. Everyone, take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Chris.
thanks, Chris.
All right, everybody. Well, that was a lot of stuff, and it's been a couple of hours, and so I'm sure you want to move on with your lives, watch some other Yang videos, jump on Netflix or whatever it is you do at this part of the night. But I want to give a big thank you to everybody who is on, especially Faye. Thank you so much for helping out. And then also Annette and Burke for being our home team, jumping on here with us. But I know you guys aren't on right now, but Quintus, thank you so much for jumping on and helping make this happen. Also, Boyce, thank you for taking time out in your busy schedule as you head to Yang Week. Also, want to give a big shout out to Jeff Miller for laying down what exactly Abundance for America is and what packs are. And also Chris on the road there doing his full-time Yang thing out there in Iowa, and giving us a good breakdown of what that actually what they actually need down there. So if you guys have any questions, if there's stuff that we went over that you want to know more about, message us or comment on this video. If you're watching it later, then yeah, that's fine. We'll get back to you. So, all right, guys, 30 days left until voting starts. Bust your asses out there. We need you. Andrew needs you. Now is make or break. There's nothing to hold back. We need to do it now. So thanks for jumping on the stream. Make sure you share this video with whoever you can. If there's info in here you feel like is going to be useful to them. So thank you so much, guys. Have a good night. Yang Yang.
Gang, gang, trickle up.
Trickle up.